Hi everyone, Matt here from the Matt's Movie Reviews live show. Thank you very much for joining me right now. Let me just check that I am live on all the channels here, both YouTube and Facebook. Sorry, I'm a little late, just some technical kinks. I'm still getting used to the whole kind of live experience. So let's check everything out here. Okay, so I think YouTube's working. And I think Facebook is working as well. Awesome. Excellent. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much for anyone who joined the show last week. It was a first time for me. A lot of kind of kinks and such to work out, much like tonight. Still used to the whole, as I said before, the whole live setting. But I like to think this might maybe got a little bit more of a hang of things. So before we begin, how about just a cheers to you all? I'm just going to drink from my Rocky 4 cup. It's a good old Sly giving Dolph Lundgren what's for. Hope we have a knockout of a show. Yeah. Dad jokes, like I said last week, I could do dad jokes. I got 2 kids, so dad jokes are fine with me. So what I want to start off with first, like I usually do, I want to talk about what's new on Matt's movie reviews this week. So let me just share my screen here. First thing I wanted to share is my review that I did this week. Here we go. Of Minamata. So this is I guess you could call it a new film, new-ish film starring Johnny Depp. So it came out in Australia last year, but only just now in America this past week did it get a theatrical release. And I got to say, it's a terrific film. I think it's one of Johnny Depp's best performances. He plays the photographer W. Eugene Smith. I think it's William Eugene Smith, and it's about his experiences in the Japanese city of Minamata in the early 1970s. What that city is particularly infamous for is that that's where Minamata disease came from. It's a form of mercury poisoning that was brought about by a corporate company dumping their chemicals into the riverbed there that this city of Minamata kind of lives on. That's they fish, they get their food there, they clean their clothes, etc. So a lot of people got sick and a lot of people died. So he went over there as a part of Life magazine. They took photos of it and really brought the attention to everyone around the world. And while the movie isn't necessarily historically accurate, and what Biopic is really, I thought it was really well done. Directed by Andrew Levitas, who's also a sculptor and artist as well. He does great work here. He has a great cinematographer, a great composer working on the film, and Johnny Depp is fantastic. It's one of his best performances. I was talking last week about how crap the Oscars are in regards to some of the films that are nominated. I think that if Johnny Depp didn't have what a kind of scandal and such was going with him right now with the whole Amber Heard thing, that he would have been nominated for this film because he's really good in it. It really is. I think a studio would have really gone behind it, put a lot of money behind it. He will hit the campaign trail and everyone would be talking about it. That's how good he is in the film. I think it's one of his best performances. So I do hope people do check out Minamata. I know in Australia it's actually available now on Netflix. Do check it out. Do read my review. I'll also have a interview with the director Andrew Levitas on the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I think it went up last week. It's one of my highest listened to reviews from the last month or so. Got a lot of hits there, a lot of fans of Johnny Depp. So let's keep going here. Let's talk about what else is new on Matt's Movie Reviews. So speaking of the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, had a bunch of new podcasts up this week, or at least since the last time we spoke last Friday. The first one is episode number 409, was with director Jefferson Maneo, who directed a film called Cosmic Dawn. And it's kind of like a sci-fi thriller conspiracy theory movie based on a woman who falls in with a UFO cult after experiencing a extraterrestrial experience when she was a kid. And what's really interesting about my interview with Jefferson is that some of what happened in the film is kind of loosely based on surreal kind of like life experiences that he had himself. When he was younger, he doesn't classify it as a UFO in our interview, but he saw what could be described as kind of like a light show. Give me one minute. Sorry, excuse me. A light show, which he still can't explain. I think it was himself and his grandmother in Saskatchewan in Canada, I believe that is. That's where they saw that. And later on in life, he kind of fell in. I know he doesn't describe it as a cult, but a kind of cultish behavior later in his life as a young man. I mean, he described it as just a time where he was just taking drugs on the beach, and this guy was kind of like leading the group. He wasn't necessarily brainwashed from it, but it was an experience, that's for sure. So he took on like these experiences and made this movie out of it, Cosmic Dawn, which I think is actually pretty good, especially the score. It's done by Alan Horwath. Alan Horwath, I'm pretty sure his name is, who did the score for a lot of John Carpenter films. He and John Carpenter did the compositions for like Big Trouble in Little China and Prince of Darkness, which I'm a big fan of. Love the music in that film. Actually, I love that film in general. I don't know if anyone has seen Prince of Darkness. Please let me know in the comments if you have seen it or whether you've seen even Cosmic Dawn. So that's one of the movies that I watched this week. Let me just pop it up here so you can see it. Cosmic Dawn, episode number 409. You can actually listen to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast on Podbean, on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, anywhere pretty much where you can get your podcast is where you can listen to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. And another interview that I did this week was with director Richard Bates Jr. And usually he does kind of like very kind of hard, extreme kind of horror movies or violent movies, movies like Tone Deaf. There was another one as well. I just can't remember off the top of my head what it was called. It was a very popular one. Anyway, let's move on. But his current film that he has that was released a couple of days ago is called King Knight, and it's kind of like I want to call it something of a satire about New Age witches, and one of them, right here, the character of Thorn, who's the head of this New Age covenant, is invited to his high school reunion, and the very idea that he was popular in high school and that he was a jock and that he was, not anywhere near the black magic anarchist that he is today, really puts a ripple effect through his comment, and they banish him. And so it's kind of like a coming of age story. Kind of reminds me of the movies of Jared Hess, who did the films like Napoleon Dynamite, that kind of humor. Really kind of dry sense of humor, really witty. Really well done, actually. I thought it was a pretty cool comedy. In the interview with Richard Bates Jr., I thought was one of the best I've done this year. So I really do hope everyone checks that out here as well. Before we continue on, I'll very much like for people to join me on Patreon. So I actually do this stuff, movie reviews and podcasts and live shows. This is like my main bread and butter now. And Patreon is actually a way that I ask people who listen to my content or watch it or read it to actually help me out. It goes a long way into supporting what I do, helping put some bread in the coffers, so to speak. I've got a couple of patrons already. I'll just click over here so you can see the patron page. I'm asking for around $3.50 a month. Was it $4.50 a month? And from that you can actually request movie reviews. You can request top tens. If you want me to cover a top 10, any cinematic theme or list of things that you want, I'll put together a top 10 for you, exclusive to Patreon, and also exclusive Q&As, kind of like what we're having here as well, and other goodies as well. So if you can help me out with Patreon, it'll go a real long way into helping me afloat and continuing on with the work that I'm doing, which I'm so happy that all of you are really kind of helping me out here. I'm just going to check on Facebook and YouTube again, so everything's looking. It was cool there. All right, so let's move on now to some movie news. And the first one is the announcement of Star Trek Part 4. So it's been a few years since the last Star Trek movie that was directed by Justin Lin. And now a fourth movie has been announced at a recent conference, a Paramount conference, where they kind of get together with their stakeholders and talk about what is new in regards to Paramount Pictures and in the movie and TV slate. I'm just going to bring up the article right here. Okay, here we go. So the Star Trek cast, including Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, returning for fourth film. Also, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, John Cho, and Simon Pegg to return to the Enterprise for their fourth tour of duty in the sci-fi franchise. So the last one was 2016 Star Trek Beyond, which I didn't mind, actually. But it actually didn't make money for Paramount, which is surprising enough. It lost them, I think, maybe upwards of, like, when you take away marketing, etc., $50 million, which is quite a chunk of change there for a big franchise tentpole, which is why we haven't really seen a sequel until now. I remember there was rumblings of Quentin Tarantino maybe perhaps doing a Star Trek R-rated Star Trek movie, and supposedly that was in early development, but that's not going to happen. And there was also talk about having Chris Hemsworth come back to reprise his role of Kirk's father. I think his name might have been George. I'm not 100% on that, but that fell through as well, because when Chris Hemsworth was in the first Star Trek movie all the way back in 2009, he hadn't even done Thor as yet. And so his profile's gone way up, and so has his salary, no doubt. So negotiations for that didn't work out either. But Star Trek 4, it looks like they're going to have the bloke who did the WandaVision show, Matt Shackman. He directed WandaVision. I think he might have been one of the showrunners of it as well. He's going to direct the film based on the screenplay by Josh Friedman, who's actually working on the Avatar movies. Speaking of the Avatar movies, do you know Zoe Saldana has got, that James Cameron's working on 4 of these things right now? It's crazy. I didn't know that. I was looking up Zoe Saldana's filmography on IMDb, and supposedly parts 2 and 3 are already in post-production, and 4 and 5 they're filming at the moment. Exactly when these movies are going to come out, I have no idea. Who knows? Maybe Star Trek Part 4 will probably come out before the Avatar movies do. It's a possibility. But anyway, let's move on now to some more movie news. This one's pretty exciting for me. Adam Driver joins Michael Mann's Ferrari biopic. So this was kind of like this Ferrari movie was a passion project for Michael Mann for several years now. I think for a couple of decades, and I think Hugh Jackman was actually originally attached to star in it, but he's not there anymore, and clearly Michael Mann's gone for a much younger star now in Adam Driver. So he's going to play Enzo Ferrari. Adam Driver, of course, just played he was just in the House of Gucci movie, so he's got experience playing Italian actors, and he does have that kind of look where he can pass off as an Italian actor. And who else is going to be in the film here? It says Penelope Cruz and Shailene Woodley are newly aboard for the big budget biopic of racing mogul Enzo Ferrari. Driver's replacing Hugh Jackman. Michael Mann's going to direct based on his script, and it's based on a book called Enzo Ferrari, The Man and the Machine. And it looks like Amazon might be involved with this as well. So who knows, maybe this might be where Michael Mann, much like Martin Scorsese before him, these really famed kind of cinephile, cinematic directors that are going to go streaming. In this case, Michael Mann's probably going to go with Amazon. I find it really interesting how these kind of streaming services, they got all the money in the world, and so they can offer people like, so I hope you guys can hear me out there, people like Martin Scorsese or Michael Mann the chance to do their passion projects, kind of like how Martin Scorsese did with The Irishman, Netflix. That was with Paramount for a long time, and then Netflix came around and said, nope, we can help you out with that. We got the money, and but I'm sure Michael Mann will will insist of having a cinematic run. This sounds like prime kind of like awards season material. So we'll see how it goes. It's very exciting that Michael Mann hasn't done a movie since Black Hat. Who knows how long that's been since that came out. Speaking of Chris Hemsworth, that was a really bad movie. That was a really, really bad film. And I'm a big Michael Mann fan. I love Heat, The Thief, Manhunter. My favorite Michael Mann film out of all of them, though, is The Insider with Al Pacino and Russell Crowe. Fantastic movie there. I know a lot of people will go gaga over Heat, and I love Heat as well. I think I might have a poster up here somewhere. I can't see it behind me, but no, like I think that Heat is fantastic. But The Insider, hands down, his best work. So I'm interested to see what he does with this Ferrari movie. Oh, and I like Public Enemies and Collateral. Who can forget those movies as well? So a great director working on some great work here. Finally, let's talk about rest in peace, Ivan Reitman. 2022 is already given us some really sad news in regards to deaths of well-known figures. Betty White being one of them, and there's a couple others there as well. Ivan Reitman, though, that's a real kick in the gut. I remember when Richard Donner passed away last year, a lot of people were reflecting on his movies and all the things that he'd done in the cinema, especially in the 80s and the early 90s. And Ivan Reitman's one of those directors and producers as well. Of course, people talk about Ghostbusters and Meatballs and movies like that. But what about Stripes? How awesome was that movie? I love Stripes. I think Bill Murray actually owes a lot to Ivan Reitman. Harold Ramis as well. The fact that Ivan Reitman could get his son to Jason Reitman to do the new Ghostbusters movie Afterlife, which I thought was fantastic, and bring kind of like the band to get back together. I think is a real I think for him it was like a real great last parting gift that he gave us. And he's given us so much. Ghostbusters, to me, I think is one of the greatest comedies of all time. Like up there, top 10. It's just such a fantastic movie. I can't wait to watch it with my kids when they're old enough to do so. Some people have their kids watch that movie. There's some stuff in that film you guys forget about. Some really kind of kinky, sex stuff and some, violent, frightening stuff as well. So, yeah, I'm gonna wait for my kids a little older before we watch that. But yeah, I definitely can't wait for my kids to watch that film. And Ivan Reitman, God bless you. Cheers to you. Now, let's move on. Next, I want to talk about one of my affiliate sponsors, and that's 80s Tees. I'm just going to bring up something here. Couldn't find it. So 80s Tees is pretty much speaks for itself. Let me find the website so I can share it with you guys. Here we are. How awesome is that? So they pretty much sell T-shirts in regards to pop culture stuff from the 80s. So you've got movies and cartoons, music, TV shows, wrestling, bands. Check out that Poison shirt. That's pretty awesome. Who also remembers Poison? I'm a diehard kind of like 1980s metal fan, and I liked it all. I wasn't like in one camp to another. I loved glam rock, I loved thrash metal, like the kind of like a classic, British metal that came with it. But it's a cool Poison shirt. I like that. So they got pretty much, a whole bunch of stuff here. Let's just look at 80s movies here. I love browsing through here because I'm the type of guy, as you can see, I'm wearing my kind of like my Double Deuce shirt. If anyone out there knows what Double Deuce is, let me know in the comments and which movie it's from. But yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of guy who loves buying shirts all the time, to the point where my wife is threatening to throw out half my shirts because I get too many of them. But some really cool stuff here, 80s Tees. So they're one of my affiliates. That's a cool one. Mickey's Boxing. Conan. Check out that one. It's fantastic. I love Conan, one of my favorite movies. John Milius. Speaking about great actors, directors, and filmmakers from the 80s. That's fantastic. So in the show notes will be my affiliate link for 80s Tees. I truly recommend people check out this site. If you're a big fan of movies and pop culture from the 80s like I am, I really recommend you check it out. 80s Tees, one of my affiliates. So let's move on now to the latest trailer reaction. So the Elvis trailer finally came out today. Elvis Presley biopic directed by Baz Luhrmann, starring Tom Hanks. And I'm just looking up now, what's the name of Austin Butler plays Elvis Presley. So supposedly there was a long search to find the actor who will play Elvis. And a lot of great actors have played Elvis before. I think I was speaking just briefly before about John Carpenter. He directed an Elvis movie in 1979 to start Kurt Russell as Elvis Presley. John Rhys Myers, that's to say his name. He played Elvis Presley in a TV miniseries back in the mid 2000s. One of my favorite Elvises is the fictional take of Elvis Presley Bruce Campbell did in Bubba Hotep. There's been heaps of them. David Keith as well did it, or is it Keith David? I think a lot of people have gotten that confused, haven't they? Anyway, let's move on. So I haven't seen this trailer yet, so I thought it would be really cool. We'll watch it together. Let me just pop my actually I won't put headphones on because I want you guys to hear it. Anyway, let's have a look at this trailer. I'm going to bring it up now. So I have the trailer on my YouTube page, the Matt's Movie Reviews channel on YouTube. That's where I put a lot of my podcasts, I do video reviews, exclusive video content, and movie trailers as well. So I'm going to go over it right now. Excuse me, and bring it up. All right. So how about we watch this together, and then I will. Press pause. Now, when I did one of these trailer reactions last week, the sound wasn't the audio, the video wasn't the best. It kept cutting out all the time. Why aren't you sharing with me? Why isn't it sharing? Nope. That one. That's what I'm looking for. All right. So we're going to check out the trailer for Elvis right now. So Tom Hanks plays Colonel Tom Parker, and Austin Butler plays Elvis. Baz Luhrmann directs. You know, I'm not the biggest Baz Luhrmann fan. Some movies I like, some I don't. But yeah, let's check this out. Gatsby, for example, I didn't like. But let's check out what this trailer has for us. I'm going to pause, talk about it throughout, just to make sure that copyright isn't too bad. All right, here we go.
There are some who make me out to be the villain.
First off, so Tom Hanks plays Colonel Tom Parker right there. That doesn't sound like Colonel Tom Parker. So I'm a big Elvis Presley fan. I've seen a bunch of documentaries with Colonel Tom Parker, and he doesn't have that kind of accent. I don't know what Tom Hanks is going for here. Let's keep watching. All right.
This here's story.
Let's don't let a good thing die.
Are you born with destiny? Or does it just come knocking at your door?
He's a young singer from Memphis, Tennessee. Give him a warm hayride welcome, Mr. Elvis Presley. Get a haircut, buttercup.
In that moment, I watched that skinny boy transform into a superhero.
So it kind of makes me laugh a bit because I don't know if you've ever seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. That's a great kind of spoof of these music biopics. That's John C. Reilly, kind of like as a fictionalized caricature of Johnny Cash. Yeah, kind of took the spoof of those movies. And there's a scene in the film where he starts singing on stage, the most kind of innocent, love song you can. But then all of a sudden, the women start screaming and tearing their clothes off and gyrating, and the parents are yelling, "This is the work of the devil," what have you. That kind of reminded me of it right there. Lohman clearly, he's pushing the whole the pelvis thing. And I guess, back then it was such a big scandalous thing, right? So. And let me just say, Austin Butler really makes a convincing young Elvis. A lot of people kind of forget, they think of the older Elvis with the kind of like the mutton chops, and you go a little, heavy sets later in his life. When he was young, he was quite kind of like a pretty boy. He really was. Yeah, especially those eyes. Those eyes really stuck out and such, and all these features and everything. So really interesting casting. Let's keep watching. The music there with the whole kind of electric guitar and everything. I wonder if what type of music approach Lerman's going to take with this. If he's going to use kind of like modern music, rock sensibilities, and throw it in kind of in there, and to kind of like make it like a not as conventional. He's not going to rely too much on the Presley catalog. I don't know about that. We'll see. Just got a few comments here. Oh Lord. Anyway, let's continue on.
I wish to promote you, Mr. Presley. Are you ready to fly? I'm ready. Ready to fly. Tonight, all of America will be talking about Elvis Presley. I can't move, I can't sing. Some people want to put me in jail. The well's moving.
They might put me in jail for walking across the street with your famous white boy.
The way you sing is God given. There can't be nothing wrong with it.
It's really interesting. So they're definitely going to go through like the whole scope of Elvis Presley's career. You see stuff from like the 68 special. You see stuff from his Vegas years. I wonder if they're going to go like later on in his life as well, when he's much more heavy set and he was very unhealthy as well. They're going to do the whole thing. I mean, if they're going to cover all of this territory, it's going to be a long movie. It really is. I can foresee it being kind of like almost up to 3 hours, because if anyone knows about Elvis Presley's life, he's went through lots of different phases, and just there's a lot of ground to cover there if he's going to go through that whole kind of sphere. It's interesting to see how he goes about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to go back and forth and kind of mix it up a bit. I just feel that that's what Lerman's going to kind of go with it. Let's see. Let's keep watching.
Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis.
That's all right for you.
Tragedy, but it has nothing to do with us.
It has everything to do with us.
Oh, my darling, I've hungered for your touch.
You're the most stolen. The things of today just to say. Even before the show, and nobody's got to remember me. I need to get back to who I really am. And who are you, Alice?
Who is he? He's the king. That's who he is. I really dig in some of this stuff here. I think it's a kind of like larger than life, kind of almost operatic approach that kind of Lerman has with his material. Can really work here with Elvis' story, because Elvis Presley was just like, he was larger than life. In many ways, he was kind of like the first huge modern day pop culture phenomenon. People forget back in the time when he kind of like did what he did, there wasn't really kind of like, the rock star, the music. There was popular music, but it wasn't kind of like what he was doing, the kind of like how in the mass way that he did it. And I guess it's going to tap into how kind of Colonel Tom Parker made it happen. And eventually, Colonel Tom Parker just rode that guy to the ground. He really did. I mean, to die at such a young age that he died, to be so unhealthy as he was, to do all the unnecessary films and specials and everything that he did, it rose his name in prominence, that's for sure, but also pretty much killed him. And a lot of people, I think, harbored a lot of ill will towards Colonel Tom Parker, even though he himself was just like, hey, that's what Elvis wanted. And I think it's really interesting is that I think Baz Luhrmann said that he wanted Tom Hanks's portrayal to really delve into that part of Colonel Tom Parker's life, but not demonize him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they achieve in doing so. All right, let's keep going.
I just gotta make it most of this thing while I can. This can all be over in a flash.
You and I, we are two odd, lonely children reaching for eternity.
Again, man, that accent, I'm just not digging that. I'm not buying it. You know, I've listened to a few interviews with Colonel Tom Parker. He seems to have kind of like just a basic kind of like, you know, I don't know if it's southern, but kind of like, you know, more southern than than the normal accent. This one almost sounds kind of like he's like a hint of German to it or something, like almost kind of like a villain from like a vaudeville kind of play or something. It just sounds weird. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Austin Butler though, he looks really cool. In the visuals look cool and kind of like like I said, that operatic feel. I really like it.
The greatest show on earth.
June 23. Awesome. Around the time of my birthday. That's a good birthday present right there. Check out that film. Like I said, if you want to see this trailer, you can actually go to the Matt's Movie Reviews YouTube channel, which is maybe where you are right now. Go check out the trailer there for yourself. But I really dig it. I like what Baz Luhrmann has done here. I think it's really cool. Again, the whole what Tom Hanks is doing, I'm not so sure. Look, he's a fantastic actor. You know, what's really interesting is that they actually filmed the Elvis movie in Queensland. Baz Luhrmann, of course, being an Australian filmmaker, and Tom Hanks was actually one of the first to in Australia to get COVID. I think he brought it over from the States to America, and so when he was filming Elvis, he was COVID positive, and then his wife got sick as well, so they had to kind of shut down production. He had to mend up there. A lot of people at the time didn't know much about COVID or how severe it could be. So there was kind of like some real, you know, concern about Tom Hanks's health. But of course, he's still around. He's done a bunch of movies since then, and he's in good spirits, thank God. But exactly what he's doing with this Elvis with his Colonel Tom Parker, I just don't know about that. That's it. Or everything in this trailer. That's the thing that just doesn't really. I just don't really into. But everything else looks great. I mean, and Austin Butler looks fantastic as well. Like I said, there was a real big kind of search for who was going to be, you know, Elvis Presley, and so far, you know, it looks good. Fingers crossed. As a big Elvis Presley fan, it will continue to be so. All right, next I want to talk about another affiliate of the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, and that is Loot Crate. So Loot Crate is a kind of like it's subscription boxes, and in these boxes you get every month really cool pop culture gear, you know, shirts, merchandise, etc. But they're all themed as well, which is awesome. So what's in the crate? A curated collection of awesome items from the best pop culture franchises delivered to your door every month. So you pretty much do a subscription and you get a bunch of stuff here. I just want to see what anything that's new. Loot Crate featuring in this crate. Oh, is that kind of like some new Ghostbusters stuff there? Let's have a look. Exclusive pop cultures, collectibles, and gear. Check that out. In this crate. Exclusive Ghostbusters Afterlife Stay Puft Smalls t-shirt. It's pretty cool. Oh, that looks pretty cool too. Blueprints, Chucky. So it kind of like it covers the whole kind of gamut of things here that you like, whether it's kind of like Marvel, DC, you know, 80s He-Man stuff, Ghostbusters, Rick and Morty. It's pretty awesome. Oh, look at this one. Crow as well. There's so many cool things here. I'd say I get immersed in a lot of these kind of like websites, and I just want to buy everything. Of course, I can't. But yeah, it looks fantastic. The Batman. Oh, I'm watching that soon. Between you and me, I'm watching that soon. And hopefully, as soon as I can watch it when the embargo ends, I can have something for you. But yeah, Loot Crate, another one of my affiliates for Matt's Movie Reviews. I got a link in my show notes. Please do check it out and buy some merch, buy some pop culture merch, and some of that money will come to me or keep me afloat, and it will be much appreciated if you do so. Finally, for the live show, what's coming up for Matt's Movie Review? So we've got a bunch of screenings coming up. One of them really interesting is that new Foo Fighters movie. Have you heard of it? Called Studio 666. It's kind of like the Foo Fighters are playing fictionalized versions of themselves but they kind of like it involves demonic possession and you know, horror killings and etc. Just like a really weird kind of like comedy slash horror slash you know hard rock metal musical, which I can't actually wait to watch it. The trailer looks pretty cool, and some of the music that's from it is interesting as well. Dave Grohl's kind of created like these like heavy metal, thrash metal kind of anthems to go with the movie. So that's something I'm going to check out soon. There's a new what's the movie called that's coming out next week on Shudder, and I just spoke Hellbender. So I don't know if you guys are big horror fans. I'm a huge horror fan, and Shudder I think is one of the best kind of like places to check out horror movies. It's such a great streaming service, and they got original films. And one of the films coming out next week is called Hellbender. It's directed by it's like a family filmmaking team called the Addams Family, and so it's kind of like a film to do with witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of like almost like a coming of age tale, but it's really gritty, really gory, real fun, real entertaining. I really like it. I bet you should, like this morning actually I talked to the lead actor and co-director Zelda Adams. She was really cool to talk to. She kind of plays like the main character in the film, this lonely teenager who finds out that her family lineage involves witchcraft, and she has to kind of like embrace her true self. And how that goes, I'm not going to say, but it's a really fun movie that's coming out next week. Also next week, I'm going to be checking out Batman. Like I said, I'm going to start doing some Batman content. So I'm looking at some Godfather content. Got heaps of reviews to work on over the weekend. Heaps more podcasts to come as well. I just hope that everyone can check out all of my stuff. You could go to mattsmoviereviews.net and also check out my stuff on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm trying to get back into. It's not the best place, Twitter. I heard someone say that Twitter, the company perception of Twitter is that it's a place of misery. And I got to say, going back there and just surfing around a bit, it really is. A lot of people on Twitter, real miserable people. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to tinker with that. I used to be on there for years, and then I quit a year or so ago. I went back on just to kind of like, you know, tread the water to see maybe if I can get some, some more website here. It's always looking to get more people to look at my stuff. I don't know how long I'm going to last though. It's a kind of a miserable place. And I'm too old to hang around with miserable people. It's a waste of time. And I just want to say before I leave, thank you anyone who checked out this live stream today. It's going to be on my YouTube channel as well, so you can watch a replay, and I have clips from this as well. So until next week, I just want to say thank you all very much. Tea for you. And yeah, I'll talk to you again next week, Friday at 8 p.m.